The Brotherhood of Fatherhood podcast.
Well, guess what? If the government makes a decision you're not happy with,
Right.
It's going to do you no good to grovel and whine about it.
Right.
What I'm saying is, what about how can you fix what's going on inside of there? In other words, my one of my favorite saying is raise the rent on your head.
Mhm.
Like, you don't have to agree with what they're saying, but you need to change the narrative of your head so that you don't become a victim to it.
Mm-hmm.
You are looking at it from a lens of how can I improve my circumstances given this situation? Where am I at now? And what are the decisions I'm willing to die on? And what are the decisions I'm willing to go ahead and say, okay, okay, I don't have control over this. How can I best live my life based on this situation? And when you start throwing blame on a situation you don't have direct control over, or you can be a change agent, don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but you must focus on what you can control. So this self and this I'm to blame for X situation, when it's applied to something like government or politics, I'm to blame on how I respond in this situation. I'm to blame on how I control the narrative with my family on this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying be compliant. Don't get me wrong. Like, you're going to find out real quick from me. There's things that I will live and die on, and I'm very big on personal freedom.
Yeah.
I do live in the United States, just so y'all know, and so that is is very important to me. It's very interesting because, well, I don't want to go there. It's just interesting talking to people in other countries.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Do not understand this concept because it just has not been a part of their culture. So moving on from that, draw that circle around yourself, and then that's where all the focus goes. And the saying I've always used is the buck stops here, and you're like, everything is your fault, which is much more straightforward. And I love that. I think that's step one. I think
Right.
it's absolutely step one in self.
So I think the first thing is, anybody who's going to be listening to this and moving forward with the series we're putting out is understanding, like, to start making to be successful in making any positive change in your life, you have to take that ownership of like everything is my fault. And that gets back to what we just said, right? Meaning you have more control over what's happening in your life than you think you do. So if you take that ownership, and again, not in a self-pitying way, but in a looking inwardly as far as what is my role in what happens in my life on a daily basis, right? Is it my landlord's fault because he's an asshole? Is it my wife's fault that she doesn't want to sleep with me? Is it my children's fault that, like, we fight all the time? Is it my job's fault, like my career, my boss's fault that I have a crappy job, right? That I'm not happy with, that I'm not fulfilled with, that I don't have the financial flexibility that I want, right? Is it their fault? No. Everything I just listed right now, it all directly comes back to you, yourself, and the decisions you've made. And one of my favorite quotes that encompasses everything we're talking about right now is, and I don't know, I can't remember who said it. I'm going to have to look it back up, and then on the next episode, I'll give the credit, which is, all the best decisions you've ever made in your life have led you to this moment. Right. And that really kind of sums it all up. Like, everything you've done up to this moment, like, if you understand string theory, if you understand like the concept of like everything is connected, everything you have done, whoever's fault it is, everything you've done, everything that's happened in your life to this moment where you're complaining and bitching and moaning and crying about everything that's happening in your life, right, is the sum of all the decisions that you've made in your life. And once you wrap your head around that concept and embrace it, then you can really start making changes to impact your life moving forward with where you want to go.